be stuck here forever.
Do not panic! Do not panic! We are trained professionals. Now stay calm. We are going around the leaf.
Around the leaf? I don't think we can do that.
Oh, nonsense. This is nothing compared to the twig of 93. That's it. That's it. Good. You're doing great. There you go. There you go. Watch my eyes. Don't look away. And here's the line again.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Very good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on where and when you're watching us from. My name is Mutagi Wasilawanyaga, Mujiro wa Bali ya Karigithi, na ngwihoka kuma ngogocwetheria ciumaga huho. Muri thayo, thayo, thayo. Today is a good day. It's the 10th day of April 2024, and this is African Kona, episode 44, where we will be talking about environment conservation among African people. And before I forget, I know today is Eid, so we also want to wish our Muslim brothers and sisters across the continent Eid Mubarak. I know Jeff ametoka pahali and wajatubebea, wali walini. Maina will be telling us that. Anyway, so it's very good to have you guys. We remind you that you can comment live. We'll read your comments. For those who will watch later, you can also leave your comment down there. We'll be able to read that. So with me here is the gang as usual, and also we have two guests today. That is Scintilla and Meshach, who was here last week. And let me start with them and ask them how they are doing. They tell us who they are and what they do and anything that you'd like to share with us tonight. I'll start with the newest member, so that's Scintilla. Scintilla Oleku. Welcome. Kindly introduce yourself, and maybe you can tell us what is the meaning of your name. Your name is interesting.
Okay, thank you, Mutahi. My name is Oleku Scintilla. When you say Oleku, it means a remnant. So I'm named after a remnant of my community or my family. So Oleku means a remnant. So I'm a youth climate champion for Child Fund International and also Pan-African Climate Justice Alliance. I'm an environmentalist and also a youth change maker who is championing actions on climate change and environmental conservation, especially in grassroots level in my community and probably in a county where I came from, in Kajiado County in Kenya. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Scintilla. Miner sometimes keeps going to Kajiado. Maybe he has passed by your place. I also see Meshach. Meshach, last time you're telling us about employment and you are telling us a different version of employment. I don't know what you have in store for us, but welcome once again to the show. Kindly introduce yourself and tell us anything you'd like to share with us tonight, Meshach. Meshach, if you can hear me. I don't know. Maybe we have lost Meshach there. Okay, as we try to get a hold of Meshach once again, maybe we can proceed with Mina Olushesha.
Yeah. My name is Mina Olushesha.
Hello. Can you hear me? Can you?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Meshach, go ahead.
Having on this end, I'm really facing some technical issues which I'm really trying to figure out right now. But anyway, I'm really glad to be part of this conversation once again, especially that we're talking about something which I think is very fundamentally impactful to the society right now. Of course, environment is in a dire crisis, climate is on a waging crisis, and I think it's very important to have these kind of conversations. They're really helpful, not only to the planet but also to locally, to us youths, to women, to everybody. So I'm glad to be here.
What I'll request Meshach to do, kindly check on your net and also check on your background noise. There's a lot of background noise coming from your side. Minor, how are you? You know, before even you say something, I can see Fredburn has sent in a comment and is saying that Wajira, it is the 10th day of April, the year of our Lord as minor calling. To all Muslims who did not give us rice, especially Jeff, I know where and when I shall revenge. Thank you for being here. Minor, you can go.
Very interesting comment coming in from there. My name is Maina. I'm a resident panelist in this show. And earlier today I saw Jeff wearing a kanzu. So let him not fool us the way he's dressed. I saw him within certain streets today doing something very different. So in that spirit, I'd like to wish our Muslim brothers and sisters an Eid Mubarak. I hope that this day brings them joy and brings them all that their hearts desire. And then again, at the start, there was a very interesting video that played. And I want to tell you guys that do not panic. We are trained professionals. So if you need our services, especially the service of leadership training, if you're somewhere, you are a leader and you want to grow in your journey of leadership, you want to ascend, you want to get to a point where people can view you as a leader worth following. We want to tell you that Washira Speaks is here to do exactly that for you. And if you feel like you have a need for that service, reach out to us through any of our social media platforms. And then again, do not panic. We are trained professionals.
Yeah. Thank you, Collins, for that. Maybe just replay the video again. I think the system is having some. Let me replay so that I can see it.
Oh no! I'm lost! Where's the light? It just went away. Dude, what do I do? Help! I'll be stuck here forever.
Do not panic! Do not panic! We are trained professionals! Now stay calm. We are going around the leaf.
Around the leaf? I don't think we can do that.
Oh, nonsense. This is nothing compared to the twig of 93. That's it. That's it. Good. You're doing great. There you go. There you go. Watch my eyes. Don't look away. And here's the line again.
Thank you, Mr.
Yeah, that's it. I think now it has been seen better, minor. Anyway, now to the man of the hour. I'm hearing is the man of the hour is the man of the day. Jeff, as you introduce yourself, also you tell us whether it is true you went to eat pilau somewhere without our presence, and whether I saw yesterday by the minor. Yesterday there were some Kikuyus. They're from my community. They were selling candles in town. I saw that and I was saying, today is the right day to be buying this thing. And then we Jeff alipitia hapo and bought all of them. So Jeff, take it away.
Okay, thank you, Ashira, and it's good to be here again. The quote of the day, the word of the day is do not panic, we are trained professionals. Na Fred Bon Kongo anafaa sema ukweli. Sisi wote tulikuwa tumevaa kanzu, but Fred Bon Kongo karibu achome. Tulienda mahali akaweka ring. We almost so anafaa sema ukweli. But we wish everyone Eid Mubarak. And on our today's conversation, environment conservation among Africa, in Africa. So watu wanachukulianga this topic as maybe a minor issue, but ukiangalia, we depend on these things every day. Na there's something I have noticed. Maybe we are saying the big problems, the government should be blamed ati wametukataa kuchukua takataka, but our small habits is what makes the challenges become big. So I would just like to know, are our small challenges are the one which lead to big challenges? For instance, unapata someone anakula kitu kwa barabara, he cannot hold until apate place ya kuiweka. Ataenda tu pale amemalizia ataachilia. So and they wait for the government to come and sweep and as collect place pamoja. So I wanted to know, are our small habits what is leading to environment pollution? I will start with you, Oleku.
Yes, definitely. When you talk of environmental conservation, there is no environmental pollution without human beings. So it means that it's us as human beings or people who are polluting the environment or who are degrading the environment, and especially when you talk of pollution, waste pollution, it's us who are not being responsible of our own activities, of our own what we do. The actions, the little things that we do are the contributors of environmental pollution. So there is need to get this knowledge that human beings are the ones who are causing environmental pollution, causing environmental degradation, leading to even a big crisis like climate change. So there is need to consider that human beings are the drivers of this crisis that we are now seeing happening everywhere. So definitely environmental conservation is important to regarding on that point.
Okay, Maina, najua maybe umepatana na mtu mahali or you are yourself, maybe unakula kitu, you go and place it, uongojei. Nimekuona ukikula mandazi mingi kwa barabara of late. So maybe unaweza tuambia, are there little habits, seme Maina will come with a plastic, umeacha mahali, Meshach does the same. At the end, it becomes a pit. You see, so I wanted to know from you, Maina, if you think the small habits is what leads to environment pollution.
Yeah, indeed. These small habits compounded at the end of the day lead to very big things. And I'd like to say categorically that I don't go around throwing litter everywhere. You know, you've started spreading misinformation, and it's not true. However, as I was saying earlier, yeah, these things, small as they might look, in the fullness of time come to become very big issues. Because you know, Jeff, if I were to go down the road today and throw maybe a single piece of paper, to me it's something not as big. But if I were to come back 10 days later and 10 people like me had thrown this piece of paper, it would have started becoming worse. And I remember there was a time we were to Ashira in a certain car, and we were passing through a certain neighborhood, a neighborhood which to me looked very upper class. And then the environment within that neighborhood was very serene, it was very clean. And then just a few meters ahead, we came into a not so clean environment. So I was asking him, why is it that these people live within the same locality, but their realities are very different? It's because their habits they've ingrained in themselves are very different. These people who live in a clean environment have made it a habit to do these small things, throw their trash, dig compost pits, recycle. But these people who live in an environment which does not look as clean have made it normal to throw litter everywhere. So yeah, these small habits in the fullness of time lead to degradation of our environment.
Yeah, you know, wise people say that if you cut one tree, you should plant two. And the government of Kenya mainly emphasizes on that quote. And you see, like it was last year we planted trees, but I came to realize that the same government, they are doing vice versa. Is we are planting one and cutting two instead of cutting one, planting two. So Washira, I wanted to know from you if you think the government is really acting on what they are saying.
It seems you people forget who our president is every time. So I don't know why you're even shocked. So what happens is this. We as people, especially, we expect our government to be the key stakeholders in terms of, conserving our environment. We have a whole ministry behind, to make sure that the environment is safe and well. But now they kind of lie because now, how many trees were planted in November last year? So many. Tell me if the government knows the status quo of those trees. And right now, I had the CS saying, Soipan Tuya saying that, there are some also various things because we are relying on the free labor from our children. Okay, so there is a long-term thing, long-term goal of such program, because you want to plant how many 15 billion trees by 2030? I'm not sure of the numbers. So you can imagine now you planting trees and then you cut them. Just even you yourself, if you walk one step ahead and then you take two steps backward, will you move? I don't think so. You make a lot of movement. So uh, I think our government is failing in terms of that, but also, despite it being the main, stakeholder in that issue, we as citizens, we as individuals, we should, tuichukulie na uzito. We take it back from an individual perspective, just as the way former President Uhuru said, security begins with you. I can also say that environmental conservation, like planting trees, begins with you.
I I think people misquoted the sentence and we are planting trees on that day. They did the wrong thing. Uh, and I saw recently that a truck, which is from the government, carrying logs, and I was so pissed because the same government are really emphasizing that we should try and not cut trees, but they are doing the opposite. They are going and cutting trees for their benefits. And I was looking at in the internet and I realized that the world, the trees cut down in a year can cover almost 9 times the area of Portugal. So you could imagine how Portugal, the area size looks like, and imagine 9 times, that's the amount of trees being cut in a year. So I wanted to really understand because I believe the main key players who are ensuring that there is pollution of the environment is the government and the people themselves. So I just want to know from you, Minor, who do you think are the main players who are contributing to environmental pollution?
I think it has to get to a point in time where we accept our shortcomings and our shortfalls. You cannot keep blaming the government for everything that is happening. If there is drought, we say the government. If there is rainfall, we say the government. It can't keep on going on that way. Sometimes you have to take personal responsibility for the things that are happening within your surroundings. And your environment is very close to where you are, meaning you have more impact on your environment as opposed to what the government might have. For example, Jeff, you live for example, you live somewhere in Nyeri. You cannot come and blame the government for drought in Nyeri while you're the person who lives in that immediate environment. It was not the government that came down and cut trees there. So this is a personal responsibility. It's not about pointing fingers at the government that the government has done wrong in this or that. It's something very personal. And then you said something to do with cutting of trees. You know, the problem is not in the cutting of trees. The problem is cutting the trees and then not replacing you. Because I believe, Jeff, in your place you have a table. So where would that table have come from if a tree was not cut? The problem is not that one action of cutting the tree, but instead failing to replace the trees after they've been cut. So yeah, I think the narrative should move from blaming the government to now it being a personal responsibility to take care of the immediate environment.
Okay, Collins. I recently heard that many diseases we are facing today were not there in the past. And I was just trying to understand. Maybe there are some diseases which we don't know, we don't know the cause and we don't have the cure. Maybe are due to changes in environmental conditions. Do you think, Cintilla, do you think that some of the diseases we face today are due to changes in the environmental conditions?
Definitely, I will say that many diseases as a result of environmental degradation, which brought about climate change as a result of pollution. So if you go ahead to even do a research of many diseases that are now happening that are a threat to us as people who live in this world or in this planet, most of them are related to climate change. And what brought climate change is human activities. Human activities such as pollution from industrial activities. This the release of carbon dioxide definitely affecting our ozone layer and affect our ozone layer, making the sun rays to just hit the earth surface directly. So these diseases such as skin cancer, among other sunburns, and many others, as a result of this environmental degradation or pollution, which brought about climate change and cause an impact to us on our health, bringing and many the other diseases that if you go ahead to even go and find some of the diseases or a mutation of insects that are as a result of climate change or pollution. There are different mutations that are brought about by environmental pollution. So these are some of the issues or impacts that this pollution or environmental uh, pollution has brought about. So there is need to recognize that these are some of the things that are critical to our health and the existence of man. Yes.
Okay, and before we proceed, I can see comments coming in, and first is from Kimani. Kimani is saying that I'm told Jeff was asked his name and he said Allah. Kabidi amefukuzwa. Kimani, that was not the case, but it was something. It was Fredborn Congo. It was not me. It was Fredborn Congo. Also, Kimani is saying that in my knowledge or a lack of it, environment conservation begins with an individual. How do you manage waste at your house? How do you handle your waste outside your house? I think this is a very valid point Kimani is trying to point out. And it's really, I would like Oleku to comment on that. Also, Kimani is saying that we can choose to pollute the entire environment or clean it. It's easy to feel overwhelmed or powerless by the scale of the issues facing our planet, but we have the solutions. And the last one from Fredborn Congo saying, he's commenting that very key questions arise when I hear environment. How do you define environment conservation in the context of rapidly increasing human populations? I think we can just try and Maina, can you comment on what Kimani has previously said here?
Yeah, Kimani said in his knowledge or lack of it, I want to assure Kimani that it's not lack of knowledge. It's indeed very true. These things are very personal. We can't blame the government for things that are happening within your household. And it's the simple behaviors compounded that in the end will lead us to having a clean environment. So yeah, Kimani, you're very right. The conservation of our environments begins with us. It's a conscious decision from us to make our environments better. It's not something that will be done for us by the government, and no one is going to save us apart from ourselves.
Okay, Collins. And the more we cut trees, the more we are destroying houses for animals. And I am imagining that if we cut almost all the trees, like almost all the trees, some of our animals will have no homes, and maybe some will die, and some animals will become extinct. Do you think that deforestation is playing a key part that some animals may become extinct in the coming years? Washira?
You know, that is obvious, Jeff. Some animals have become extinct because of some environmental issues that have been there in the continent and in the globe. You know, because now it's even difficult right now. You know, climate issues are there because of failure of, environmental people taking care of the environment. So it is obvious now, Jeff. Right now, you go and cut, for example, all, let's say, what kind of trees that birds like. You cut all of them. Where do you expect the birds to live? They will survive very rarely. Will they go to rocks? They can't live in rocks. So the birds live that way. I talk of monkeys. They have to be in such kind of forested areas for them to survive, because that is their habitat. I don't know if you guys remember issues of habitat. So obviously it will lead to them being endangered. Actually, some of them are endangered species, as we speak. And even ourselves, we should be putting human beings even in that category if we continue with this kind of behavior. And that's why me I say it just starts with you. Anza tu hapo kwako. How do you, I normally get really pissed off, as Mina was sharing. We go somewhere and then somebody eats something from a plastic bag and then they throw it as if that it doesn't matter. You're in matatus, somebody throws it. Kwanza, that's very dangerous. You see somebody was drinking maybe yogurt. People from Western huko kwa kina Collins, they like eating while they are traveling. So you see somebody is entering a matatu with 1 liter or 2 liters of yogurt. By the time they're in Sachangwani, they are done and then they throw that thing outside the window. First of all, it is environmental pollution, and two, is very dangerous. That can hit the windscreen of the car that is behind you, and the driver is blinded, and that's how he died into these roads. You see, there's a simple act. Those small things that matter is what is actually very, very key in these issues of environmental conservation, and taking care of and making sure that the climate change is not heading in the direction that it is heading. And for the animals, obviously they will become extinct if we go on this way. And last but not least, not actually last and least, we will be the ones who will go extinct. That one you can take it to the bank. And I'm seeing Fredbone Kimani is answering Fredbone Congo's question. So Congo asked two questions. The system cannot take the whole paragraph, so it divides it into two. So Fredbone Congo's first question, reads this way: very key question arise when I hear environmental conservation. Number one, how do you define environment conservation in the context of rapidly increasing human population? And then it continues. That's why it is written continued there. Number two, what's the impact of environmental degradation, biodiversity, and how do we restore the same amidst the reality that we have been unable to manage human growth rate? I am sure Scintilla can be able to respond to that. And then he also says, Fredborn also asks, is there really something like climate change, and what is its definition? Because over time, instead of world temperatures reducing, they are rapidly increasing, and the repercussions are here with us. I can see Kimani Mwangi has answered Fredborn. I said, to answer your first question, Congo, it is all about sustainability, nothing more and nothing less. Let us proceed. Jeff.
Okay, yeah, I think we should invite Kimani and Fredbon Congo here. I think we should hear more on their same talking in the space. And in the last week news, the government informed us that we'll have very heavy rainfalls. And I carried my umbrella, but it was vice versa. Jua ilinichoma vibaya sana. So it has been very difficult to predict weather conditions. And I would just like to know from you, Mina, have you noticed any changes in the environmental conditions over the past few years? And I would like to know which changes have you observed?
Yeah, I've noticed a few changes, but before I answer that, maybe I'll talk a little bit about what Fredborn and Kimani have talked about. In using any resource, for the resource to be well utilized, you look at the equity in its distribution, and then you look at the sustainability, and then you look at the environmental impact. So yeah, handling environmental degradation there comes a time where we have to strike a balance, because you look at issues like climate change, which they say have been brought about because of increased amounts of CO2 in the environment. But then you try and look at the things that have introduced CO2 into the environment. For example, there's animal agriculture. So then do we say that because this agriculture is introducing CO2 into the environment, we do away with it for the survival of future generations, while we ourselves are not surviving? We try and look at things like the use of fossil fuels, for example. Uh, the cost of fossil fuels at the moment compared to renewable energy are lower. So you try to look at it in this context. Do we go in that direction and forgo these fossil fuels at the expense of people not being able to afford the energy that we currently have? So it's there's somewhere you have to strike a balance. You're trying to protect our future generations, but it comes a point in time when we have to think of ourselves. And yeah, you also said, have I noticed any changes? Yes, I have, because I remember when I was a kid, there were certain months we knew during this month there'll be rainfall. During this month it'll be a little bit dry. Because from where I come from, for example, around December there, it's very dry. December, January, it's dry because that's the time people are harvesting. And then you go to March, April, that's the time the rains come, and then there's a brief period without rains. And then from August, then the rains come again. So yeah, in my lifetime, I've seen these things happen. But I ask myself, was this environment meant to stay the same? Because they say the only permanent thing is change. So the environment was bound to change, and I think the way you can address this issue is by learning to live with what you have at the moment. Because according to me, these things are always bound to happen. So you can always complain that yeah, but this is the reality we find ourselves in, and we have to live within it. Because you realize a few decades ago, for those of you who believe in the theory of evolution, a few million years ago there was an ice age, and then from then global temperature started rising. To me, I believe it's a cycle. We'll reach a point in time where we'll go back to that ice age. So instead of complaining about this change in climate, we can learn to live with it and perhaps forego the things we'll be able to forego.
Yeah,
Allow me
honest.
to
And I
to
also
to make a comment about
okay.
what just Minda had just said. Can I go ahead, Wahito?
Yeah.
Okay. One of the things that Mina had just said, he's like soothing, or is like he doesn't need to change. Definitely, when you said that we do not have to do away with fossil fuels, it's like you are consuming a poison that will kill you in the later time. So when we talk of fossil fuels, we don't need even to talk of fossil fuels when we are talking about environmental conservation, because when fossil fuels were being introduced back in the years in the 1900s and 1800s, they knew of the impact that it will bring to our planet in the future. But because of the profit that they knew that they will get, the big companies like the oil companies knew that they will get a lot of profit when they come with fossil fuels. So they introduced these fossil fuels, knowing that there will be an impact in the future. So when we are talking of environmental conservation, we need to cut off things like fossil fuels. We need to adopt clean energy, ways of energy. I had just seen Congo saying, how far have we went to do about the Kyoto Protocol that happened in Glasgow. That the protocol is there. It's only that the commitment of our leaders or the global commitment is not really working very well to do away with fossil fuels, because there is a group of companies that are big or there are big oil moguls who are trying to force things and trying to secure their position in business and corporate societies. So they need to tell people they are trying to force the issue of climate change. They are when you talk of climate change in places like USA, people like Donald Trump doesn't believe in climate change, and you are like, why does he doesn't believe in climate change? It's just because the USA is just a controller of like everything in the world. So they are working with the oil moguls to just do away with things like climate change. So they need to push, like to block some of the grievances that are arising in the whole world to take action on climate change. So we doesn't need to talk of fossil fuels, where we need to shift on to things like clean energy. We even have our own knowledge, and we can come with some new ways to carry out things without that fossil fuel energy. We can you know that even we can introduce like things like water, and it doesn't produce pollution and carbon dioxide. So don't think that solutions are not there. Solutions are there. It's only that human knowledge has not been tapped to such things. So we need to not talk of things, or we don't need to just think that we do not need to shift from fossil fuels. We have to, if we need to achieve environmental conservation and climate action in a climate justice lenses. When I talk of climate justice, I mean in a fair manner, in a just manner, where everyone is happy and continuing their activities without being impacted by climate change impacts. Yeah.
Yeah. I hear you, Cintilla Oleku. And at the start I said, at what cost? Because I believe I know what I'm talking about. Because yeah, we have to transition to this clean energy, but at what cost? If today, a lot of manufacturing happens using heavy fuels that have a very high energy density. If today we were to transition fully into using clean energy, you'll not be able to afford that phone you're holding in your hand. You'll not be able to afford the basic necessities of life. That's why I'm telling you, this thing is not like we can wake up today and decide, you know what, tomorrow you're going to transition to this. It's something that has to be faced. It's something that, if you look at it in context, is not as easy as you'd want to put it, because you said of things like using water, for example. You look at things like hydrogen production. Hydrogen is a clean energy source, but if you look at the production of hydrogen, a lot of the production of hydrogen comes from natural gas, methane, and methane is a fossil fuel. So we are trying to cover up these things. While if you look at it from the backside, there are a lot of things going on that as you promote climate justice, you have to look at, because you have to look at people's livelihoods. If today manufacturing were to use electricity, we will not survive. So yeah, we need to go there, but I don't believe it. I believe it will take time for us to reach there, because if you look at these advanced nations who have been trying to transition from what you call fossil fuels to clean energy, they've been unable to do so. If you look at these big nations like the United States, they might be signatories of these protocols, but they're not doing enough. And yeah, fossil fuels are not what we are supposed to be using, but the transition is not going to be as easy as you would like to make it sound.
Definitely, it won't look as easy as I sound. But do you know how much money are being spent on issues like wars? Do you know how much money is being spent on issues like the that that are being sponsored on issues like refugees, that are the issues of refugee and everything like wars. These are just things, or a lot of money or fund is going to things that are not necessary to our world. A lot of sponsorship or funding is going into weapons. These weapons produce a lot of they use these fossil fuels. Why don't we come up with a fund that help the whole world to transition from to clean energy? We have the ability as Africa itself to even produce our own clean energy, but the fund itself is not there. Our leaders are not really making or are not securing funds to carry out such projects. Take, for example, a nuclear project that is happening right now in Kilifi, in the coastal areas of Kenya. The project itself is being funded very well, and it's gonna help the amount of energy that is gonna be produced there. It's nearly going to help the whole part of coastal region in Kenya. Take, for example, the geothermal power from I don't know in Kenya as well. So these energies are there. They are there in our own services, but we are not going to tap it if we don't have to. If we are not going to take action to tap it. So there is need to understand that human beings are just the ones who are not going to tap to this, but they have the ability. There are resources there. It's only us who are not taking action to shift from fossil fuels.
Yeah, I think we'll have
Definitely,
to
it
agree
will
to
take time because
we'll have to
it will
agree to
take time.
disagree, and perhaps this discussion might stretch on into another time. But there's something funny you said, because I was listening to Trump speak one of these days, and he said that do you expect us to go to war with a tank that uses electricity, so that we're in war, and then midway between the war we stop to charge our tanks, and then after charging the tank we then proceed to go and fight. So yeah, it's something that we need to do, but it will take us time to reach where we want to be in future.
You know,
Can't you measure? Can't you measure?
Allow me to come in. You know, this war between the petroleum engineer, that is Minor Luciacia, and Scintilla, the climate activist. Uh, my concern is this, Minor, why are we fighting? You know, why are we even fighting in the first place, so that we can charge these tankers either with petroleum, diesel, or electric charge?
Yes.
But it will
Why
be
are
a
we
very
fighting?
interesting fight. It will be a very interesting fight when to end up on Nini, you know. Scintilla, yes.
So one of the things that if you are going to even promote environmental conservation, Minor, first you need to just hide yourself or stop uh, hearing everything that Donald Trump says, because that is an anti climate change. He's one of the climate deniers. He's one of the man that is deadliest in the world to action on climate change. So first avoid coming with a mentality of Donald Trump right here. So we can go ahead. Just talk of things that will help us. Talk of things that it will help the people, will ensure the sustainability of our future. Think of the future of your kids yourself, because Donald Trump will die in the next few years, and you'll remain yourself with your kids, and your kids, the kids of your kids, will still remain. And when we are talking of climate change, it is a crisis that will affect even generations to come if you are not going to really take action on it. So there is need to understand and consider the future of the of even generations to come, there is need to ensure generational fairness. When I talk of generational fairness, I mean justice to all generations. We should not we should not raise our kids in a future that is so much with a lot that is held with a lot of crisis and a lot of challenges. So we need to consider such things, Minor.
Yeah, indeed, we need to consider such things. And you said something very interesting. I cannot protect future generations if I don't survive. That's why at the beginning I asked you, do you know if you were to transition that fast, you yourself would not survive? So yeah, we need to move towards that direction, but it needs to be faced, and we need to talk to people about the realities that are there on the ground. Sometimes when you do activism, you talk, but you, you don't at times consider what is happening on the ground. They say siasa inafanyika kwa ground. You might talk, but the situation on the ground is very different. So yeah, uh, we need to protect our environment, and we are doing a lot to protect it. Because if you look at some of the biggest protectors of our environment, are these oil companies. If you look at it very keenly, you know why? Because they are very keenly scrutinized in such a way that they have to account for everything that they offer. So yeah, it's not that people from my side, because that's the side I'm speaking for today, do not care at all about our environment. They do care, and they're making steps towards protecting our environment. And they're investing billions, even trillions of dollars into protecting our environment. So I don't think
I can
yeah.
I can see Kimani Mwangi is saying that the electric tank question is very interesting. I don't agree with him, but I see his point. Actually, why don't we use this electric tank to charge our phones and talk with each other while we are there fighting? Because me, I'm totally against this fight and whatever. Anyway, guys, I really love the
There is no
conversation
need
that is
to
going
fight.
on. Yeah, there's no need to fight, but I'm loving the conversation here between Mina and Scintilla, because we are able now to understand the different sides. Let me not call them sides, but different arguments, because Mina is a petroleum engineer, so I'm sure he understands the need of slow evolution towards a greener continent. I mean, and also the globe, which is also quite valid. Because it will be difficult for us to shift immediately. Once, if evolution does not occur in a gradual pace, it will render us extinct. But I think I love that conversation, and something that we should continue talking about, and see, how can we exchange ideas, how can we exchange thoughts, because I'm sure Scintilla is still of the thought that, these things should be done and should be done immediately. Or I say the way Kibe says it, immediately.
You
Yeah,
see, Scintilla and
indeed. It has been very interesting. It's always good to hear from the other side.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I can see. I think Jeff has had some network issues and he has left the broadcast. But we are almost done. We are wrapping it up. So, Scintilla, as we wrap up the conversation tonight, maybe you can share with us what are your final thoughts before we call it a show.
Yes, Mutahi, can you come again?
Yeah, I'm asking what are your final thoughts, because I can see time is now up. We hear your final thoughts so that we can be able to call it a show.
My final thought is one: we need to embrace environmental conservation, because and we need to even first understand as youths ourselves. Nature has a way to pay you, because when you conserve nature, it means you are working to something that is was made by God, and God Himself will reward you. Nature itself is like humanity. When you do it to someone or to nature, it has some way. It will reward you in some way. You can't understand, but it will reward you. So guys need to conserve environment. Guys need to even plant trees as much as possible. Guys need to ensure that we reduce our pollution. Guys need to cut off our emissions as our whole continent. And guys need to consider that there is need for responsibility among polluters. Such as the industries, the countries with biggest industrial pollution, they need to ensure that they cut off their emissions, and they should not uh, they should find some ways of cutting their emissions and reduce pollution and
No.
ensure that they do not share this burden to Africa countries, because there is
Yeah.
this thing that we're calling the carbon credit and carbon markets. It's like that the Western or the global North are trying to shift this burden to Africa. To So they are telling African countries to plant more trees so that they can curb our emissions or their emissions that they are producing. So why do we have to do this as Africans, yet they themselves are not showing some ways that they are cutting, they are going to cut these emissions? So they need to consider both sides in a justice and a fair manner. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Scintilla, for agreeing to be here with us tonight. We definitely need to have you back so that we can proceed with this conversation. I also like to hear Mina's final thoughts before we wrap it up on the topic tonight.
Yeah, it's been a very interesting conversation for me personally. I've liked to hear what Scintilla said, what you shared, what Jeff has said, and at least at least we are going somewhere. You can see we are going somewhere because this argument is meant to inform our future better than our today. So yeah, indeed we need to protect our environment, and I personally take the responsibility, and from time to time, and not from time to time, every other time, I ensure that I don't litter. I basically maintain the environment around me as being clean. And then in the end, three things come to my mind. We find ourselves in a sort of a trilemma because we're trying to look at it in a form in terms of equity, in terms of affordability, and in terms of environmental sustainability. So we need to sit down and analyze these three issues in such a way that even as we are protecting our environment, we take into account all these three so that we come to a conclusion or a solution that will indeed help us to create a better environment, not only for ourselves, but also for our children. And as I wrap up, I'd like to remind our viewers that Washira Speaks is not just a YouTube channel. We do much more than just having these discussions on YouTube. We have a whole catalog of services. The one I wanted you guys to know of today is our service on leadership training. We teach of you of things like the 5 voices of leadership. We teach you to become a leader worth following. We teach you that leadership is not only about having that big voice. Or we teach you that leadership is about guiding people towards a common goal. And yeah, if you're interested in that service, you can reach out to us through any of our social media platforms, and we can tell you of how it will go from then. It can be offered to a single person, or you can come in a group. If you have a company that you want to train the leaders within your company, you can reach out to us and you can train them. Or if you're also an individual and you'd like to learn of these things to do with leadership, feel free to reach out to us, and I'm sure you'll learn a lot from your interactions with us. And as I said, do not panic. We are trained professionals.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you, Mina, for that. Jeff, I can see you're back. Kindly, in a brief manner, give us your final sentiments on this topic so that we can wrap it up.
The topic has gone broad, and we have still not concluded. We have some sides, and I think we should have a second part. And I know even if we have a second part, we still have a third part. So I think we should create aside a series for this topic. And finally, I would like to conclude by saying we are the problem and we still are the solution to enhance environment conservation. And just like what Kimani has said, it starts with you as an individual. What you do in your house, it starts there. And I would also like to conclude by saying on all social media platforms at Wachira Speaks, and visit our website at www.wachiraspeaks for any inquiries or information. You can be our panelist. We don't atuchaguangi. If you want to feel like you can be part of this panelist on all social media platforms at Wachira Speaks, contact us and we'll plan. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, guys. I'd like to thank everybody who has watched us live, and in a special manner, I want to thank Scintilla for joining us tonight. It has been an awesome conversation, and also, from my end, despite we having difference in ideology, what we are agreeing, I'm sure, is that something needs to be done, and that the environmental concerns are valid, and that we need to, conserve our environment regardless of whatever way you want to look at it. So what I'm going to do ni kusema kipenga nitapuliza. Actually, I want to puliza kipenga so that all of us can take this course. Everybody who's watching us live and who will watch us later, kindly, it does not hurt to, and it starts with you. If you feel it difficult to go outside and do it as your own individual project or as a group project, start from your home. Make sure you are as something as litter hiyo tu. So today that is the message that we are passing across, and I don't know, unajua Kenya wanasema unangojea firimbi ipigwe, so wale walikuwa wanangojea, I'm going to do them justice and do this one. I hope they have heard it, and so that they can be able to start conserving the environment. And from me, I like to wish our Muslims brothers and sisters Eid Mubarak once again, and see you next time as we discuss a different topic. It is going to be an interesting conversation as usual. My name is Mutavi Washira Wanyaga. Ishinegira na shia mobi mubuli. Layo, layo, layo. Good night.
Good night.
I'm lost! Where's the light? It just went away. What do I do? Help! I'll be stuck here forever.
Do not panic! Do not panic! We are trained professionals! Now stay calm. We are going around the leaf.
Around the leaf? I don't think we can do that.
Oh, nonsense. This is nothing compared to the twig of 93. That's it. That's it. Good. You're doing great. There you go. There you go. Watch my eyes. Don't look away. And here's the line again.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr.